OpenAI has just announced GPT-5. It's a huge topic of conversation at the moment, and it's something that the industry has been waiting on for a while. So I wanted to bring you along for my first look at this new version of ChatGPT. But first, let's cover what was said in the announcement. So this new version of ChatGPT is described as a smarter, more helpful version, with GPT-5 being their best model ever. According to OpenAI, it has PhD level thinking, and to show you what that actually means, here's a chart to show the abilities of the previous models that OpenAI has released, although that metric doesn't actually give you much to go on. This new model has the combined best bits of different models that OpenAI has released in the past, which essentially simplifies the model selection process that you have to go through when you are giving ChatGPT a task to perform. Because ultimately that is one of the most frustrating parts about using ChatGPT. It's the fact that we have to decide, well, is this model going to be better than the other model for this specific task? And it's just confusing. There's also a bunch of new features such as study mode, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, improved voice capabilities when you're talking to ChatGPT through a microphone, and things such as connecting Gmail and Google Calendar to ChatGPT. Right, let's get into the demo. At the top here, we have GPT-5 already pre-selected because it is now the default model for ChatGPT. However, you can also select other models if you want to, some of those being the new thinking models that have also been launched with GPT-5. These essentially are more advanced versions of the model that have extended reasoning capabilities, but you can also select any of the previous models that you would have used within ChatGPT as well. We still have access to some of the tools that we know and love inside of ChatGPT, such as agent mode, deep research, image creation, study and learn, which is a new one that we'll talk about later, web search and canvas. So the first prompt that we're going to give GPT-5 is going to be a coding prompt where we're going to ask it to build a Pac-Man game for us. Code a Pac-Man game using Python. The game should give the player 3 lives. Their high score should be stored. The ghost should chase the player around the maze. If a ghost is eaten, it should respawn in the center of the maze like normal Pac-Man arcade games. Let's run that and give it a go. This isn't too advanced of a task to give it, and it also doesn't utilize the reasoning capabilities of the model, but what it will test is the coding capabilities of the model. I've noticed that there's an option here to get a quick answer if we want to. I wonder how much that reduces the quality of the output if we were to select that. And I don't know whether that's a new feature, for GPT-5, but I've never noticed it before. So it thought for 20 seconds and now it is currently writing all of our code for the Pac-Man game. It's also given us some instructions on how we can set it up here, because unfortunately we can't run it inside of ChatGPT, so I will need to run this on my local computer. Let's wait for it to finish loading. Before we make a conclusion on whether or not this is a good or bad model for coding, let's take the same prompt, give it to GPT-4o and see what it gives us. So the game logic appears to be much worse around the actual playability of the ghosts. For example, I mean, we've just run into a bug there, so I guess that proves the point that GPT-5 is at least a bit better at coding. Now that we've tackled coding, let's take a look at the reasoning capabilities by giving it a complicated task that requires reasoning. This is a long one, but I'll read it out for you.
I'm a programming and tech content creator with around 600,000 followers across all platforms. I create content showcasing how I build projects, as well as useful tools I use when programming. I want to start doing more talks and presentations at conferences. I did one earlier this year where I ran it through an automation project that I built. Can you create a list of tech conferences, small and medium sized, that are happening in the UK between September 2025 and December 2025? Try to find the contact information of relevant staff for the events who would be able to help me pitch my talk. You'll need to find the names and email addresses or LinkedIn profiles of the specific people I should get in touch with. For each conference in the list, you should also draft some ideas for titles or topics for my talk that would be relevant to the conference itself.
So I'd say that's quite a complicated research and reasoning task that we're going to get it to perform. Let's found them quite quickly actually. So here we have some results like PyCon 19th to the 22nd of September in Manchester. Has the email address of the organizer, it's organized by volunteers, but it says who the organizer or the conference director is. And it gives me some really cool ideas for my talk. And it does that for all of these suggestions. And it has a summary table. Okay, nice. Now earlier I did mention that GPT-5 also has the brand new GPT-5 Thinking Mini and Thinking models. So I'm going to run this exact same task through those models to see how they differ. I'd expect that this would take a little bit longer. You can see here that it's updating us on the exact steps that it's taking. And we do have the option to get a quick answer if we want to, but I want it to do its thing. One of the things that I've noticed with this AI revolution is that people expect so much more of the individual models now than they did when they first came out. So for example, this taking maybe a few minutes to complete this task, some people are going to be thinking, well, that's way too long to complete such a basic task, whereas actually this is pretty impressive. So it's finished. It thought for 1 minute and 50 seconds, which is a lot longer than the previous task. However, let's take a look at the results. So the results it's given me are a bit more concise, and it has again identified the conference director as well as why it fits, talk ideas, pretty similar to what it did with the normal GPT-5 model, but this just feels a bit more structured and better laid out, I'd say. So now on to study mode. We can enable study mode by selecting it here in the tool section. Let's just give it a prompt. So in its response to us, instead of just saying, here's what aerodynamics is, it's asking us what is our starting point and where do we want to go? So for example, I'm interested in Formula One and motorsport. You can see at the bottom here as well, it's also asking how much physics and maths do I already know? Not a lot. Okay, so now that it knows what my starting point is, it's going to give me the basics. Ultimately, you don't care about the aerodynamics side of this prompt, but you do care about the study mode side. Essentially, this is really cool how it's approaching the problem differently. It's not just saying, well, you've asked me for aerodynamics, this is what aerodynamics is. It's first double checked what my understanding is so that it's providing me information that is actually going to teach me something. From an education point of view, I think this is really cool for things like revision and homework, and potentially even in the classroom as well. I think this could be quite useful. What I'd like it to do now is quiz me on my basic understanding of physics. If the forces acting out of balance, what can you say about the relationship between That's a way too complicated question for me. I've said that it's too complicated and now it's going to adjust the questions for me, which is good, I guess. If you would like me to do a deeper dive on the API side of things for GPT-5, let me know and I'll do a dedicated video. Overall, I'm really excited to see how GPT-5 is going to be used going forward. I think it's definitely simplified using ChatGPT in terms of picking a model and the new features such as study mode, which are amazing for consumers. I hope you've enjoyed this insight into OpenAI's latest announcement. If you did, please do leave a like down below, hit the subscribe button if you're new, and tap the bell icon to get notified every time I post a new video. See ya.